Let's welcome Dr. Brian Lishenga. He is the chairman of the Rural Private Hospitals Association of Kenya, RUPHA. They have told people who've been going to them with NHIF card that, it's okay. Waendelea tu
Card ni mzuri sana.
Lakini ukikuja, please, beba cash.
Yep.
Ama ukuja na insurance zingine kama tumesign up. Ama ukuja na ng'ombe.
Ama mbuzi.
Hiyo tunaweza chukua, lakini NHIF. Daktari. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the situation room.
Thank you. It actually feels rather cool.
Okay.
That's always the idea.
Yes,
just to throw people
So
off.
it works, guys.
It works. Yes, it works.
So CT is going to welcome you with the day's proverb. And this week the proverbs are from Senegal.
Yes, they are.
Do you know who the president of Senegal is, Dr.?
A young guy called, I'm still trying to get my head around his name, but he has two wives.
That's a detail nobody's about to
Let me
forget.
tell you, this one,
Who's forgetting that one?
especially African men.
Yeah.
The man, yes, when you have a good example to follow, you talk about the example.
But two things to remember, though. You can remember the leader of his party is called Sonko.
Oh, yeah.
That one you can't forget.
You can't forget.
The leader of the party, Sonko. Him, Faye.
Yeah, that's his surname. Basiro Diomaye Faye.
Diomaye.
He's called who?
Diomaye Faye.
He's called, Diomaye Faye. Faye. The name is known by, but his first name is Basiro.
Basiro.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The proverb.
The proverb. Kings have no friends.
The end.
Interesting. Kings have no?
Yes, this proverb ends just when you think it's beginning.
Kings have no friends.
None.
Full stop.
Ooh, that is intense. Yeah.
How would you interpret it?
I think it's I interpret it as the call for kings to be just and to show no favoritism, because friendships always imply some debt, something that you have, owe,
You're beholden to
You're
this
beholden to a friend. But for a king's greatest duty is to be just. And to be just requires them to treat everyone equally.
No favoritism.
No favoritism.
Don't just look at them and this is my friend, so...
And also on the flip side, you'd say a king cannot be a friend to everyone, So, in other words, it's actually a very lonely place to be, to be a king.
Kings are lonely.
Very lonely.
Or it's lonely at the top.
It's very lonely at the top, yeah.
It is. So, Doc, what is the Kenya Private Hospitals Association, Rural Private Hospitals Association of Kenya?
So, RUPHA. So, we had a general meeting on 21st and 22nd, and the members decided to change the name. So it is now the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association.
Oh, you brought in the urban people.
Yeah.
Why?
So Kenya is changing rapidly. A lot of places which were considered rural just a couple of years ago, 5-10 years ago. Take Nakuru, for example. 5 years ago, Nakuru was a town. Now we designated a city. So it means Viungani or the suburbs of Nakuru are now becoming towns.
Right.
So, and our membership is changing also. So initially when we began the association, we were decidedly rural. In other words, if you're somewhere 20 to 30 kilometers, 50 kilometers from the nearest urban center, and you're offering healthcare there and you're private. So that was the initial thing. But as time has gone by, our membership has also changed quite a bit. We were just looking at our data, and we found out that actually right now, Nairobi County is the single largest source of membership. So, and they were like, every time you say rural only, we feel left out. So we've changed a little bit, but If you look globally, we are represented in 44 of the 47 counties. We have a presence there.
How many members?
396 as at this morning, valid. By valid, I mean they have kept their membership up to date.
Okay.
But those in our database are about 450 facilities. So we have facilities as far as Wajir, Moyale, Turkana, in some very far-flung places. So why RUPHA? It's because rural healthcare is different. And even in urban communities, we have something called the urban underserved constituency. So you are in Nairobi. Some people experience healthcare very differently in Nairobi from others. So for instance, if you are in seeking care in Umoja, Dandora, some of these places here, their choices in terms of where they can go for healthcare is not very different from a guy, say, in Kakamega or Busia. So we speak for those constituencies, those people, both patients and providers, who are in those, socio-economic, geographical circumstances, and life is very different there. I will tell you, I practiced healthcare for about 8 years in Njoro, and for a long time I was the only medical doctor in Njoro. Njoro, yes. Njoro.
Hiyo yote.
Hiyo Njoro ukielekea Elbago Molo.
Hiyo yote hiyo.
Hiyo Njoro sub-county, part of Nakuru. I was the only medical doctor there, for a while. And my facility was less than a kilometer away from the sub-county hospital. And the sub-county hospital was staffed by clinical officers. And,
no doctor.
No doctor. So when I started my practice there in Njoro, for a long time I was the only medical doctor until my facility employed other doctors. So I was the only medical doctor there. Now let's not talk about gynecologists, pediatricians, surgeons. These are people specialists. They are not seen Nuko, and therefore the dynamics of healthcare are very, very different. When you have
Nakuru County by username Investments Limited, or you can send the word plot to 20321. Serenity Springs in Nakuru is this new development by username. It's on which road, city? From Nakuru to? Olkalau.
Yes.
And it's touching tarmac. It's proper touching tarmac.
Touching tarmac here is not you get to a tarmac road and then you traverse the terrain next to the tarmac road for the next 3 kilometers. Tarmac is here, literally. Touching tarmac meaning you will see the familiar fencing of username and you'll see a remarkable gate that will announce to you that you have actually arrived. Yes.
Yeah.
Literally, when they say next to the road, it's literally next to the road. Yes. Yes.
How much are they selling an eighth of an acre?
An eighth of an acre is going for 1,499,000 Kenyan shillings.
How long does it take for them to process your title deed?
Well, you see, if you finish paying, this title deed isn't one of those ones where you say get a SACCO and then you'll be registered as a SACCO. No. That the land has already been demarcated and the individual titles for the 1/8. You finish paying yours, it is processed. Yes.
Hapo.
No, you finish, it is processed.
Hapo.
Yes, I'm not saying that you sit there and it's processed and you get the title as you walk away. No. The process begins immediately you finish paying. And you will get your title. You know why? Because the title for the land that you are buying is ready. Yes.
Hapo.
So a transfer will take place and you'll get your land.
Very good. And it's how much again?
1.499.
And a deposit of?
Well, a deposit of 150,000 shillings. Yes.
That's it.
Here too.
Mambo, Simbo, straightforward.
Yes.
Like that. Hakuna kubishana. Sijui nini ama nini. Sijui melipa mjalipwa. Sijui we owe you 6 billion shillings. That is the kind of kubishana that we are seeing rural hospitals having with the National Hospital Insurance Fund.
Yes.
No, it's no longer hospital, it's health.
It's health. And it's saying, kuna hii. And by the way, when you've been told that amount, that's it. This story of hidden charges, additional charges, that thing does not exist.
It doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist.
Kabisa. Okay, let's welcome Dr. Brian Lishenga. He is the chairman of the Rural Private Hospitals Association of Kenya, RUPHA. They have told people who've been going to them with NHIF card that, it's okay. Waendelea tu
Card
kulipa
ni mzuri
NHIF,
sana.
sawa.
Ni
Lakini
mzuri
ukikuja,
sana.
please, beba cash.
Yep.
Ama ukuja na insurance zingine kama tumesign up. Ama ukuja na ng'ombe.
Ama
Ama
mbuzi.
mbuzi. Hiyo tunaweza chukua. Lakini NHIF. Daktari, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the situation room.
Thank you. It actually feels rather cool.
Very
Okay.
good. That's always the idea.
Yes,
Just
that's
to
the
throw
idea.
people
So
off.
it worked, guys.
Yeah, it works. Yes, it works. It works.
So CT is going to welcome you with the day's proverb. And this week the proverbs are from Senegal.
Yes, they are.
Do you know who the president of Senegal is, Dr.?
A young guy called, I'm still trying to get my head around his name, but he has 2 wives.
That's a detail nobody's about to
Let me
forget.
tell you, this one,
Who's forgetting that one?
especially African men.
Yeah.
The man, yes, when you have a good example to follow, you talk about the example.
But 2 things to remember, though. You can remember the leader of his party is called Sonko.
Oh, yeah.
That one you can't forget.
You can't forget.
The leader of the party, Sonko. Him, Faye.
Faye.
Yeah, that's his surname. Basiro Diomaye Faye.
Diomaye.
He's called who?
Diomaye Fare.
He's called, Diomaye Faye. Faye. The name is known by, but his first name is Basiro.
Basiro.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The proverb.
The proverb. Kings have no friends.
The end.
Interesting. Kings have no?
Yes, this proverb ends just when you think it's beginning.
Kings have no friends.
None.
Full stop.
Ooh, that is intense. Yeah.
How would you interpret it?
I think it's I interpret it as the call for kings to be just and to show no favoritism, because friendships always imply some debt, something that you have, owe,
You're beholden to
you're
this
beholden to a friend. But for a king's greatest duty is to be just, and to be just requires them to treat everyone equally.
No favoritism.
No favoritism.
Don't just look at them and this is my friend. So, I think-
And also on the flip side, you'd say a king cannot be a friend to everyone. So in other words, it's actually a very lonely place to be. To be a king.
Kings are lonely.
Very lonely.
Or it's lonely at the top.
It's very lonely at the top. Yeah.
It is. So, Doc, what is the Kenya Private Hospitals Association, Rural Private Hospitals Association of Kenya?
So RUPHA. So we had a general meeting on 21st and 22nd, and the members decided to change the name. So it is now the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association.
Oh, you brought in the urban people.
Yeah. And
Why?
So Kenya is changing rapidly. A lot of places which were considered rural just a couple of years ago, 5-10 years ago. Take Nakuru, for example. 5 years ago, Nakuru was a town. Now we designated a city. So it means Viungani or the suburbs of Nakuru are now becoming towns.
Right.
So, and our membership is changing also. So initially when we began the association, we were decidedly rural. In other words, if you're somewhere 20 to 30 kilometers, 50 kilometers from the nearest urban center, and you're offering healthcare there and you're private. So that was the initial thing. But as time has gone by, our membership has also changed quite a bit. We were just looking at our data, and we found out that actually right now, Nairobi County is the single largest source of membership. So, and they were like, every time you say rural only, we feel left out. So we've changed a little bit, but if you look globally, we are represented in 44 of the 47 counties. We have a presence there.
How many members?
396 as at this morning, valid. By valid, I mean they have kept their membership up to date.
Okay.
But those in our database are about 450 facilities. So we have facilities as far as Wajir, Moyale, Turkana, in some very far-flung places. So why RUPHA? It's because rural healthcare is different. And even in urban communities, we have something called the urban underserved constituency. So you are in Nairobi. Some people experience healthcare very differently in Nairobi from others. So, for instance, if you are in seeking care in Umoja, Dandora, some of these places here, their choices in terms of where they can go for healthcare is not very different from a guy, say, in Kakamega or Busia. So we speak for those constituencies, those people, both patients and providers, who are in those, socio-economic, geographical circumstances, and life is very different there. I will tell you, I practiced healthcare for about 8 years in Njoro, and for a long time I was the only medical doctor in Njoro. Njoro, yes. Njoro.
Hiyo yote.
Hiyo Njoro ukielekea Elbago Molo.
Hiyo yote hiyo.
Hiyo Njoro sub-county, part of Nakuru. I was the only medical doctor there, for a while. And my facility was less than a kilometer away from the sub-county hospital. And the sub-county hospital was staffed by clinical officers. And,
no doctor.
No doctor. So when I started my practice there in Njoro, for a long time I was the only medical doctor until my facility employed other doctors. So I was the only medical doctor there. Now let's not talk about gynecologists, pediatricians, surgeons. These are people specialists. They are not seen Nuko, and therefore the dynamics of healthcare are very, very different. When you have
It's about late disbursement of funds, just like we see in counties and everything else. Late disbursement of funds from the exchequer to the NHIF to keep the NHIF liquid.
Yes, actually slightly worse than that. Not late disbursement, just none.
Zero disbursement.
But the contributors was money deducted from their pay.
Yes. So the money is deducted for sure, but the money just doesn't arrive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means that the government was basically just
taking a free ride. So
nyonga the NHIF.
Yeah.
So if you look at, so the question you asked is, how did we get here? We got here because you and I, when we failed to contribute our NHIF,
we don't get service.
We don't get services.
Yep.
In fact, your portal gets locked. If you go to any facility, they will tell you your card is invalid.
Yep.
And when you want to reinstate, you will be subject to fines.
You're penalized.
You're penalized. But state agencies have not been penalized because ideally they should have been penalized and
by themselves.
So if to borrow the words of some of my friends, it's impunity. It is impunity.
Okay.
Essentially.
Dr. Brian Lishenga is the chairman of the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association of Kenya. So now it's RUPHA. W.
They used to say the U was silent.
The U was silent. Now the U is. Okay.
Yes.
RUPHA. We are talking about this because the rural, private and urban hospitals, rural and urban private hospitals have said we are having issues with non-payment of hefty bills by the NHIF to the tune of how much now?
29 billion.
They are owed 29 billion shillings by NHIF. So all of them collectively, 396 hospitals so far have said, no, we are no longer going to deal with NHIF services. So if you're coming to our facilities, come with money. This has had an impact already so far. Since you started doing this, what are you seeing?
So this is I like to say it's a difficult time to be sick in Kenya because so we have the ongoing doctor strike and all the other clinical personnel seem to be joining in.
Yeah.
So essentially the public sector is on its knees, and where we are feeling the impact most is what we call the bottom of the pyramid. So these guys who do not have health insurance. Remember, as a country, our insurance coverage is something like 23% or something like that.
Of what?
So people with any form of health insurance.
Health?
Yes.
It's below 10%.
NHIF numbers. So
okay. If you include NHIF.
Yes.
Okay.
So if we include the NHIF.
Private health is about 3%.
Yes. So we are talking about something like 77% of Kenyans uninsured, something like that. And they rely heavily on government facilities. So what we are experiencing as private sector is a flood of patients, and it's a flood of patients that are critically ill. Now, these patients generally do not have the means to pay for services, and they are arriving to us when, in many cases, it's too late. So, number one, the crisis is hitting people two ways. You don't have the money to pay, and you are reaching the hospital very sick, and now the hospital will not even accept the NHIF card. So this is really what's happening, and there's the pushback is, why not just accept the NHIF card? Do the humanitarian thing.
Mtalipwa. Because these people, after all, have paid.
Mtalipwa nini. The reality of the matter is also the promises have been going on for far too long. Let me give you an example. So there's this scheme called Linda Mama.
Yes.
Linda Mama is the one that
maternity.
Yeah, the maternity care, and it's the one that actually triggered us to issue our notice on 4th of March to the NHIF and tell them, no, we can't take it anymore. And we actually gave for political correctness, let's say Social Health Authority, because every time we say NHIF, they always remind us that the NHIF is defunct since November last year.
Okay.
So apparently, so we were asking NHIF to pay, and they told us, no, your liability is actually moved to SHA. It is SHA which owes you money. So in any case, Linda Mama, the last time providers received any significant payment was June 2023. Now, here we are 9 months down the road, nothing flowing. Now, there was a small payment in January. I will give you an example of how small it was. Facilities that were owed, say, 5 million shillings on Linda Mama were paid 50K. That is how tiny token. You can hardly even pay one staff. So now we have a contract with NHIF that says that clean claims will be paid within 90 days from the date of submission. So you tell me how you compare 90 days with 9 months.
There's a problem here. You keep talking about the contract you have with NHIF, and you've been told they don't exist.
They don't exist.
That could be the problem.
So I'm asking again, yes, do you have a new contract with a new entity?
It's no new contract. We are.
So you're saying
the law automatically transfers.
Yes.
All the
contractual obligations and
contractual obligations
to SHA.
Yeah.
It was automatically transferred.
Yes.
Okay, that's what you understand. Does the government understand the same thing?
No. And you see, this is why we have a problem. You see, the SHA began to exist on 22nd of November 2023.
Yes.
We have a contract with NHIF prior. So, anything, by law, anything 21st of November kurudi nyuma, we are owed by NHIF. So, that, the only contract we have, you're very right, the only contract we actually hold reads between Facility X and the National Hospital Insurance Fund.
Yes.
Now it's defunct. So, our position has been that anything prior to 21st of November 2023 should be settled without question. Number one, because it is contractually due. It is more than 90 days since they were submitted. It is contractually due. It should be settled. Number two, it's because it was under the NHIF contract. After that date, we are in the SHA contract. We have no issues from 22nd of November to now. We are dealing with SHA. Before that, those bills were supposed to already have been settled.
I'm concerned about
without SHA.
I'm
Yes.
concerned about your organization.
Yeah, you are concerned.
And I am concerned because I see the possibility and the likelihood of you not being paid is very high.
And so this is and you're right, this is where we are, and it's a very dicey contractual situation we are in.
Have you had a legal opinion on this matter?
So the contracts we signed with NHIF unfortunately were very skewed in favor of NHIF, and power was controlled by one party. So for instance, we have a contract that says if the NHIF fails to pay, you should accept that situation, and you have to wonder why we ended up in that situation.
Yeah, I'm wondering, how did you guys sign
Did you
that
guys
contract?
sign the contract that said this? I mean, I've heard it for the first time and it sounds really crazy. But you saw this and signed it, and I'll let it go on.
So this is a very interesting. So we have a monopoly in healthcare called NHIF, and we are creating another super monopoly called SHA. In other words, if you are a healthcare facility in this country and you do not have the SHA contract or the NHIF contract,
you won't survive.
Close shop. So they have now gotten to a position of power to the extent that it is take it or leave it.
Okay, Dr. Let me ask you a question. If you could do like numbers across board, we're looking at 396 members who've said essentially we're not going to allow this anymore. So these are 396 entities,
Yes.
facilities whereby Kenyans go to seek healthcare,
Yes.
right? What is the percentage of those who present themselves at these facilities using their NHIF card?
4.
So in a day, you're saying, say, if I see 300
If
patients.
you see 300 patients, how many of them are coming to ask to pay for this service with their card?
So before the strike, I would say 80%.
Okay.
Yeah. Now with the strike, the numbers gone down a bit, so it will be somewhere like 50, 60. Because now we are seeing more patients who don't have NHIF.
They will come with cash.
Yeah, they're coming. They're coming with cash. They don't have a card.
Okay.
Yeah. So, say in an ideal situation, 80% of clients.
So 80% of these folks who would ordinarily come, they would get the service that they needed, present their card for payment, and that would be sorted out. And obviously, a card carrying individual, the assumption is that they've made their payments and they're up to date.
So we confirm with the NHIF portal that you are up to date. So we check your status. Yes.
And for the checking of that status, it actually is fine. You can get onto the portal, you can check status is cleared, somebody can use their card, they can pay. Okay. I'm interested to note that before November 21st, 2003, when the submissions for payment were made to NHIF, what response were you given? Because we're assuming that, again, remember, 396, we're assuming that one answer is what was given to everybody, and that you do not present your invoices for payment as an association. Each facility presents their invoices to NHIF for payment individually. But it sounds as though there is one answer that's given by NHIF. Is that so?
So the one answer is that we don't have the money now.
Okay.
We are processing.
We are processing.
Okay.
And the other thing you should note is that monthly collections, these payments we do by the 9th, have gone down since this reform started.
Okay.
Because a lot of people have adopted a wait and see attitude.
Yeah. Okay. Would you know, or would we be able to assume? Because the assumption is that the four of us in this room, as we contribute to NHIF every month, whatever, that it goes somewhere. This money goes somewhere for the purposes of paying for healthcare. It's not for somebody to go have a party in the hills. You contribute this money. Essentially, this money is supposed to go from this pool so when Mama Caroline goes to hospital,
She's gonna be sorted.
She will be sorted, and then later, this money will then be paid to hospital.
Yes, yes.
N'est-ce pas?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Where does this money go? If you are told now, and that's why I asked the question in the way in which I did, people pay, they come to hospital, their status is checked, they've paid, that's why they can receive services. So where does this money go from this pool, which we assume is supposed to pay for this healthcare?
So this money is it goes to the NHIF consolidated account, but this money is not enough.
No.
So it's
we have
paying
already
small.
agreed. No.
You know, it's paying 395,
Not
396
enough.
are only a small fraction of the health facilities in the country.
Yes.
I understand.
It's also going to public facilities.
Yeah, and
it's going to
mission
the other
hospitals.
mission hospitals.
Yes.
It's going to bigger private facilities that are not part of this 396.
Yes.
So, you see, out of 5k debt, out of 5k bill, you get 50k. So it's
the
paying
assumption-
50, small.
The assumption is that for everybody who then is supposed to be taken care of under this umbrella of NHIF, that taking care of comes from the contributions that everybody makes.
Yes.
So essentially what they've been saying, without saying, is that, well, we've paid here and here, we're waiting to collect some more from people's contributions, and then we can pay you. Isn't it?
Yes.
How long has this conversation been going on?
This conversation has been going on for a long time.
How long?
We would say the financial crisis at NHIF began sometime in late 2022, say October around.
Right.
Yes.
So for a year before Shah came into, NHIF has owed this money to these entities.
It's been rolling over this.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say I need to just reiterate this point. The money that you're talking about, which you've calculated really nicely, this money has no problem. This money, I think, is flowing in.
It's flowing in and going out.
It's flowing in, flowing out.
It's the exchequer cash.
Yeah, it is 40. I think from the last figures, it's about 45 billion that you and I contributed. But NHIF paid out, like the last figures we have, they paid out almost 80 billion in benefits.
What magic.
Okay, so look, that's a shortfall of about 35B.
Yeah.
Yes.
That 35B is now coming from those other schemes I was talking about, the other, which are all government schemes.
Yep.
So even if you take Eduafia, the one for high school kids, this was a government scheme, which was terminated last year in December.
Yes.
Unfortunately. Linda Mama is a government scheme.
Yeah.
Civil servant scheme is
A government scheme.
Police is government scheme. All this. So the issue has
And
been
then teachers was removed from NHIF.
and that's another issue because NHIF lost almost
A huge chunk
a
of.
huge chunk of revenue. So the issue has been, and if you take you back to 2021 numbers, about 18.5B just on Eduafia, Linda Mama, civil servants, and police. This is money that's just not.
But were the
flowing.
police also not removed recently? Or did I misread it?
Yeah, so the police were removed. I need to explain again. Some of this money is also historical debt. So in other words, we were paying for police care in the past using money that's
In arrears.
Yeah, in arrears. So now it's like they have come calling. The debt is calling now.
But you also have to realize something, City, that even though the police, the teachers have moved out of NHIF in the enhanced scheme, the statutory contribution to NHIF still remains to NHIF.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. They still have
That
to make
the
that.
same way all of us are deducted from our payslip. Statutory contribution to NHIF. Teachers and all are still contributing to NHIF.
Every
But who's
month.
deducting them? The government.
Yes.
Is the government remitting that money
No.
to
To
NHIF?
That's the answer there.
That's there. So if government is not remitting all its workers' money to NHIF by the 15th of the month, as all of us are doing, then there's a problem.
Which is why I asked, where
If
does
they're
the
not
money
sending
go?
all this money, so the government has cash issues. Government is not paying NHIF. Government is not remitting NSSF. Government is not paying pending bills to the tune of almost 1 trillion shillings.
Government
Is not
capitation.
sending money for schools capitation. Government is not sending money to counties on time. So
All these issues.
government is only now just
Picking. And something very interesting, Eric, is that you see this 29B apparently it's been sent to the pending bills committee.
For verification. Yeah, because it is hospitali tunazijua ni wakora. Let's address that actually, Daktari. This has been said even by the Cabinet Secretary for Health, even by the President, right? We have had news, we've seen exposés on this particular issue.
Yeah.
Private hospitals, some of them could be your members or not, who falsify claims, NHIF claims. Right? The particular case where we had with the Omtata of Meru, where he whistleblew this particular case where people were being picked up from villages in Meru, brought to facilities in Nairobi and Kiambu County for some fictitious arthritis treatment and
then you have a knee replacement.
And then you have a knee replacement and you are going home with the same knee you came with. All those kind of things. How do you address that?
Okay, so first of all, overblown, out of proportion. Let me just start by saying that when she finally released the figures, it was 171 million. Okay, and I just told you this scheme collects and pays out 80B. And you know the story that was coming was, fraud is finishing the fund.
Yes,
fraud is, if we just take care of the fraud, everybody will get Uber healthcare, amazing healthcare. But when she finally released the figures, I was honestly disappointed because all those facilities that were doing that, 171 million. So, and I can tell you, there are facilities, single facilities in this country, who that is their payoff a month. So this can't explain the corruption problem. The corruption problem at NHIF is much deeper than that. I will tell you numbers that we have. There was a time, and it was actually in the press, where 88 hospitals in Kenya were responsible for about 60% of the NHIF payout.
How many? Say again.
88. Less than 100. 88 hospitals in Kenya. This is back to about a report of about 2020. 88 hospitals in Kenya were getting 60% of the payout. Now, I want you to figure this out. The payout that year was about 60 billion. Okay? 88 hospitals were getting 60% of that. So, 88 hospitals were collecting, say, roughly 36B. The NHIF database has 8,000 hospitals. So the rest, 7,900 and something, were sharing the 40%.
They were sharing 24 billion.
88 is like 10%.
They were sharing 24 billion.
See, that's ridiculous mathematics.
It is.
Yeah. So.
And these hospitals, were they named? Do we know them?
We can't. You see, naming we shouldn't go that way because I think a lot of these hospitals do, genuine work. They do amazing work. You can't use a blanket. But I would just put it this way: if you are an accountant and you are looking for corruption, and you are looking for people being given unnecessary care, where would you be looking? Would you be looking at these 88 or 100 hospitals that receive 60% of your payout, or would you be looking at the 7,900 and something which are sharing 40%? I mean, so we've asked these questions to the ministry. We've told them, you as a ministry know where NHIF money is going. You can actually ask NHIF to print out for you the top 150 hospitals that receive close to 70% of NHIF money and say, can we audit these ones? Because if you audit those 70%, you cure the problem of corruption, if there is. But you see, you're running after 7,000 facilities that are receiving trickle. Let me tell you, the census report given by the minister in December, the facility census report when they went around, showed that out of these 8,900 facilities now, last December, 57% are government. So we are saying government is actually about 5K facilities in Kenya. And most of these facilities are level 2, level 3, small
health centers.
Small health centers. Then
43% of our care is coming from private and faith-based.
Yes.
So these are the bigger ones.
These are the bigger ones. Now, the cabinet secretary says about 40% of healthcare facilities were submitting fraudulent claims, about 20 billion. So if you just do back of the envelope mathematics that will just tell you like the entire private sector is corrupt.
It's fraudulent.
It was stealing money. All the FBOs, because the FBOs on the list were just about 500,
Yeah.
are corrupt, and then a bunch of government hospitals are also stealing money. So the fraud story, Eric, it's not an honest discussion.
It's a smoke screen.
Yeah, it's a smoke screen. Money is being lost through collaboration between staffers at NHIF and a few hospitals, which if they wanted to find them,
They could.
they can.
Dr. Ari, thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Brian Lishenga, the chairman of the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association of Kenya. We have issues in our health system. We must address them.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.